Hello, everybody. Welcome to the ConTech Exec Podcast. My name is Robert Zimmerman, and I'll be your host for today, as always. And today, we're going to talk about getting serious. We need to get serious about our data. I know you're already serious about construction, but we need to get serious about data in construction. Yes, the information age is giving way to the age of AI. The money is moving in that direction, right? The U.S. Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act put $1.2 trillion on the table. Inflation Reduction Act added another $369 billion. Those are kind of old news with some of the initiatives that are going and the new administration's focus on AI and becoming a world leader in AI. This money just adds to the whole pile of money that's flowing in this direction, these jobs. McKinsey estimates we're going to need $6.7 trillion globally for data center build-outs by 2030. Now, that's a very large compute demand, right? In construction, we go where the money flows. And if you're a GC or a specialty contractor, this is your moment. If you can make the transition, because you won't be able to join these groups building these data centers and all the other things that are going to be without having some of these requirements that are going to be taking place. So digital transformation is not just a buzzword. Okay, it is a set of commitments that you have to be ready for and that you're going to have to be putting forth. Your data foundations is one. You got to commit to your data foundations. You've got to commit to change management, and you've got to commit to upskilling your people. Okay, those are the big three. The fourth part of that, the fourth dimension of that is you're going to have to work through the bad results because you're going to see them. You're going to find the mistakes. You're going to find the areas, and you cannot give up once you get there. You can't say, oh, this is not giving me the results that I'm looking for. You've got to be able to make the adjustments, right? There are already companies doing this. They're running pilots, they're running programs, and they're separating themselves from the pack. Now, granted, these are big players that are doing this. I'm going to talk about a few of them today. They're using their data and AI right now. Now, maybe what most mid-market contractors can't do, maybe we can start next quarter. Maybe we can give you a few ideas of, hey, how do we get started down this road? How do we make sure that we are ready and can be a verified bidder or a verified contractor on some of these big projects and things that are out there? Now, let's talk about our accuracy. Since we're talking about digital transformation, it's all about the accuracy, right? We know that human error is possible. So you can't analyze what you can't trust. So verified data, right? Verified governed inputs will beat your gut feeling every time, right? And this is what these big companies are doing. A company like Suffolk Construction, they learned this the smart way. It built models to predict safety risk, and then it shifted its KPI from fewer incidents to more safety observations per hours worked, meaning they didn't wait for the incidents to happen to then monitor them as a KPI. What they did was, how many safety observations did we have per hours worked? And then that drove the incident reductions down by basically focusing on the people and the correct behaviors, right? Now that's data telling crews where to look today, not a month from now, not saying an accident happened over here, don't go over there, or don't do this again. It was, here's how you spot areas, right? They use that data to then reduce the number of incidents, okay? Now, there is a saying, and I don't do it very well, but, bad data creates confident idiots. And this is true, right? Bad data creates confident idiots. And we see it every day. You see it when your buddy or your friend is, quoting some news from a Facebook post. It could be a random bot post that has false information on it. It could be anything. The information is out there to be absorbed. You can't always take it as truth. That's why you need verifiable information. Make bad decisions on bad data. So what we want to do is create good data, because good data creates confident leaders. Okay. So what the leaders are doing is they're using AI for one in scheduling and recovery. Now, I talked about this a few weeks back when I was talking about some software. We talked about Alice Technologies. Now, Mortenson has piloted Alice Technologies to generate and compare millions of basic schedule scenarios. So on one pilot, Alice cut 84 days by servicing better build sequences which was something that the human schedulers just can't do because they can't go through the millions of different scenarios, right? So they can't remunerate that. Now, Alice is used to recover delays on hyperscale data centers now, and it's safeguarding tens of millions of dollars in revenue, right? Because when you can take 84 days off of a failing schedule, we're talking about saving a job, right? So when you're hanging steel and you got crews running around or you're moving cranes, obviously a company like Mortenson using Alice is saving dollars, putting more in the bank. Second, let's talk about using AI for safety risk prediction, right? Now, Skanska layered computer vision plus BIM 360 via SmartVid and new metrics to auto-tag hazards in job photos to cut risk exposure. Now, this isn't science fiction, okay? This is happening. It's a proven workflow. They're capturing photos, they're modeling risk, and then they're acting on the insights during the work week. This is similar to Suffolk's approach, right? So basically, they're changing their KPIs. They're changing the way they're measuring these risks, right, to get better results. And that's coming from good data. Now, the tooling, they're going mainstream. They're using Oracle Construction Intelligence Cloud, which will even embed the new metrics risks. So they're utilizing these tools to get better, save money, eliminate risk, right? But they're using exact data. So let's also talk about IoT and data lakes for job site conditions. So PCL's Job Site Insights, which they call JSI, there's a lot of acronyms flowing around, right? But they'll use IoT sensors in Azure Cloud to stream temperature, humidity, pressure, and more. The alarms then prevent material damage. The dashboards shows up on the dashboard. The dashboards are there to drive decisions. And then the executives can see the trend lines across the projects. Again, they're taking digital information and they're dropping it into these tools. They're analyzing it, and it's a lot of data, but they're able to analyze it using these tools, and then it's giving them real-time information. So Stantec Power used the JSI analytics to build a smarter and greener while reducing its rework risk. So again, we're going back to tangible margin protection. Tangible margin protection. That's kind of hard to say. So it's just not a fleeting thing, right? Now let's talk about developing a business intelligence portfolio. Turner, one of the biggest names in construction. They use what they call Project Pulse, basically aggregates SAP, Procore, and other systems into live dashboards for RFIs, submittals, and change orders. So they have a dashboard on this. So that visibility then speeds up decision time and exposes bottlenecks in real time. So if you're still waiting for a month-to-month end on a spreadsheet of where we're at, you're having a monthly meeting or even a bi-weekly meeting, it could even be a weekly meeting, you're still kind of operating a little bit blind, and you're operating from what we call a lagging position, meaning we're not able to predict where the risk is. We're kind of feeling our way around in the dark. With the digital information that we're using, we're able to better predict where this risk is coming in and where we can avoid it and how we can avoid it, how we can better schedule around it, right? So the pattern is really clear. You capture the reality, and then you model the risk and time, and you act faster. So these big contractors, they're not talking about AI. They're actually operating with it. And I know they've got the advantage, right? But they're utilizing, this is the example that we want to follow. They're leading the way with this information. They're leading the way, showing it how it can be done with their teams. Now, there are tools out there for these mid-sized markets, and even larger, if you're a larger company and you're not using it, there are tools that you can use, but are you using them fully? So why is there such an urgency right now? Well, at the speed that this thing's moving, and the way that these jobs need to get done as fast as they need to get done, you're going to need digital technologies in order to prove your worth, okay? The capital is flooding into the energy, infrastructure, and compute sectors. So public dollars from initial initiatives and then private dollars. So the public dollars are going to go into roads, bridges, power, and grid modernization. So most of those projects, a lot of them probably already started, some of them midway. Private dollars are reaching into AI-ready data centers. There are single projects in the range of $20 to $25 billion in price tags that are breaking ground just in Texas alone. So before you end up tallying the rest of the pipeline, you can deliver predictably. If you can do all these things with your new digital technology and you're performing at peak performance and being able to capture that reality, model it, and be able to say, hey, this is what the outcome is going to be. This is, with 80% or 95% accuracy, this is where we're looking to be. Guess what? You're going to be able to ride this wave, but we want to get you ready to do that because a lot of times you get a little bit lost and you feel like we're not quite ready there. We got so many splintered factions. We got so much fractured data. Well, we got to come up with a playbook for this next quarter, right, to get you going. Because the time is not tomorrow, the time is today, okay? Now, you don't need a 50-person R&D lab, but you are going to need some disciplined steps and the right partners to kind of get you over the start line to get to the finish line. So, step one of this is data foundations. Now, next week, I'm going to be talking with Christian Berger of the Berger Consulting Group. It's going to be fantastic, a conversation about governance, which is basically what this is about, data foundations, defining your system of record for cost, time, and safety, right? Defining your ERP, your project controls, your field management. You need to standardize your cost codes across all jobs, lock in that naming. It never changes. Once you start, it never changes. You got units, the locations, data governance. Like I said, Christian and I are going to be talking about it next week. Who owns the timekeeping accuracy? Who audits these? Who audits this information, and how often do you audit this information? Do you have a light like Power BI stack, right? Are you pushing daily extracts into a single warehouse, or is it just all fragmented information over everywhere? A single warehouse is very, very important for your data, right? Because you need your PMs and your supers and your executives to be able to get to it to make the decisions. So here's the outcome when you do these kind of things. You're going to get daily truths, right? And it's going to beat that weekly mythology of, I think we're good over here. No, that's not it. You're going to use what Turner's Pulse does and solve at a scale, right? So you want to read more about Turner Construction. There's plenty of stuff to read. Safety and risk pilot. That's a step 2. Okay, I know safety is a big topic, but safety costs money, right? Especially when safety is not followed, it costs money. And I know you always hear the horror stories of some guy wanting you to tie off on a 6-foot ladder and those kind of things. I think those are one-off situations, right? Where somebody's making an example that doesn't really measure across the market, right? What you want to do, you want to do these things. You want to use a tool like Oral Construction Intelligence or Numetrics and basically auto-ingest site photos, observations, generate risk scores. You shift crews toward leading indicators like Suffolk did, right? Increase your observations 30 to 50% in 60 days. Track near misses, right? Get a reduction trend going. Suffolk's approach proved the model that if you do it this way, if you start getting the teams to recognize risk and document them and get that data into a system, right? So you can measure it, you're going to watch your safety incidents go down, and that's going to save money. That's going to save time. Okay. That's what's going to happen. Part 3. Let's talk about this. Schedule optimization, right? We talked about Alice Technologies. Use Alice Technologies. See if you can get in on a pilot with them and resequence some of your most critical path work if you can. Use it to discover a slipping schedule or a stress test. Make it come up with alternatives before you do a major buyout, right? So your KPIs, you're going to quantify your time and cost curves. You're going to document crew utilization impacts, and you're going to codify the chosen path. So Mortenson's pilots and hyperscale case studies show how real days and dollars get won back. So you can probably go to Construction Dive and check out some of the articles on Alice Technologies. There's also Alice Technologies blog, and read a lot about this stuff because you want to be informed, and you can't just get all of your information from me, but you can get some of your information from me, and I'll get you in the right direction. Now, step 4 of this is you're going to want to start to work with some IoTs. The PCLJSI style stack, basically it was off-the-shelf sensors and an Azure integration. They were monitoring temperature, humidity for finishes, water ingress for slab protection, differential pressure for infection control. Like they were doing some healthcare jobs apparently. Basically, the number of alerts that prevented rework and material loss were dollars avoided, right? They saved money by preventative measures, right? What was it Benjamin Franklin said? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, okay? Because I don't know about you, but there have been plenty of times where I've lost material or the theft of material because maybe it wasn't a camera on site. Maybe I didn't check the temperature very well. Maybe some stuff got damaged by water because I didn't have that information coming into me in real time, or I didn't check it. I wasn't monitoring it. These are ways to save dollars and save money. And you may think that's a hell of a lot more work. Yep, it's a heck of a lot more work, but guess what? You've got more work to do. Use the tools to help you analyze it, to get the information faster, and it won't seem so bad, especially when it comes down to the end and you start balancing that last end of that budget. You start realizing what you did wrong instead of realizing what could go wrong during the project. Use these new tools, use that data to advance what you can predict. Step 5, ops rhythm and change management. I talk a lot about this. Most of you aren't prepared for change management. Everybody dreads it. It's almost like the word that should be unsaid, but you have to deal with it every day. You're going to have to start embracing it. So in this instance, a daily 10-minute stand-up with dashboards, maybe a weekly risk and schedule review, a monthly executive ops review. Let's start upskilling our people on data literacy, understanding what it means and the power of it and what it can do. Also, you want to get Power BI for your PMs, supers, and PEs. You got to recognize those champions and those folks that are going to see that data and the value for what it's for so they can then pass that on. So you kind of model like the people side of it, how to handle the data so that the tools aren't going to fail you, most likely. It's the usage and how they're used is going to end up failing. So get those rollouts right. Skanska did this, and Skanska publicly emphasizes data literacy from basic to advanced as a lever for adoption. And adoption is strictly a word for, I would say, successful change management, right? So if you want to read more about that, you can always go to Skanska.com. They're happy to discuss use case and show their pilots. So it's kind of a nice place. Bottom line is this. You're going to want to pick one safety pilot to get going, right, with digital information. You're going to want to pick one schedule pilot to get going with a scheduling device. You're going to want to try an IoT pilot, right? Just pick one, right? And in 90 days, prove those out, digital information, and then compare them to maybe some other projects and see how it improves. I guarantee it's going to improve it, but you'll prove it out in the next 90 days. And that means by Q1 of next year, let's say you started this within a month, right? In Q1 of next year, use Q4 to finish out the year with some of this stuff. Use Q1 of next year if you have to. And then by Q2 of 2026, you are ready to really scale up, right? And then start to deal with more favorable results. Because when you start measuring, you start to see some of the ugly truths, right? And the only way to get around the ugly truths is to correct them, right? So you're going to find out that crews are underreporting quantities. You're going to find out that crews are over-reporting time. You're going to see subs drifting on the duration of the contract, right? They're going to be maybe spread thin. They don't have enough assets to really cover what they said they're going to cover. You're going to find all of those things. And you're going to find repeated hazards on specific tasks and specific job sites. I'm going to tell you what the answer to that is right now. It's good. It's a good answer. Even though it's a bad thing that you're finding these things out, it's bad. This is good. This is the way you're going to recognize where your successes will start. It will start by fixing those problems. And that's the whole point. When Suffolk reframed the safety success patterns, it got better outcomes because the metrics changed the behaviors, right? They didn't wait for the accidents to happen or the incidents to happen. I love how they like to change that. It's not an accident, it's an incident. But they didn't wait for it to happen. They just changed how they measured their KPIs so that they recognized it before it became a problem. That's great radar, right? So treat every bad dashboard. Treat every bad outcome as a to-do list. And you need those things because if you don't find out about your mistakes, you're never going to be able to correct them. So where's all this heading? Okay. AI-ready scheduling will become table stakes, right? It will. It already is for the big companies, right? Owners will expect scenario testing. They're going to want to know basically what the outcome is before you ever get started. So Alice adoption across data centers is a leading indicator about that. So go to Alice Technologies blog and check out their information on that. Embedded risk in AI in common suites means safety analytics will be ubiquitous, not bespoke, meaning you won't be able to tell people, yeah, we're safe. Okay. They're going to want you to bring the receipts. They're going to want to see your safety analytics. They're going to want to see it, especially on these big, multi-billion-dollar jobs. You want to be a part of it. Or if you just want to be a subcontractor as part of it, you're going to have to bring the receipts and you're going to have to be a part of this digital technology. Now, the compute build-out is accelerating. Multi-billion-dollar projects on campuses. There's grid upgrades, transmission upgrades, and the pipeline is only going to get bigger and bigger. Because of just kind of trickling through the system. Once we do all these things, more things are going to come. Now, a quick comparison. Let's do large versus mid-market. Large companies have balance sheets, talent funnels, R&D culture. They've been integrating AI into schedules, risk, and logistics, probably some of them 20 years now, maybe 25. It's been around a long time. Large language models, AI, this kind of stuff has been around for quite a while. We're just now seeing it in a smaller level with things like ChatGPT. But companies like Mortenson, Skanska, Suffolk, Turner, these folks are using it every day. And it's only going to be trickling down into these smaller units in order for us to be able to maintain our competitiveness and maintain our focus and our decision-making in the positive direction. So mid-market firms win by being decisive and focused. So getting your standardized data. You don't let each project invent its own cost codes. You get standardized data going and you buy or you acquire proven technology. I'll say avoid multi-year custom AI detours for right now. It may have some AI features or it may have some features that will interact, have AI functionality in the future. Right now, train your supers and your PMs in the basics of data. Get that done fast. Get it done as fast as you can, right? Now, if you want, here's your kind of 30-day starter kit. Things to focus on. Like I said, next week we're going to be talking with Christian Berger about governance, but this is kind of top of the list in that 30-day starter kit. So get yourself appointed data steward. Publish a one-page data dictionary, And if you don't understand what this means, it means you got to get your definitions of what you call things straight. Meaning a cost code has a name, and that cost code is the same name for this job, that job, that job, and that job. So get your one-page data dictionary going. Safety and AI. You can trial out the new metrics via Oracle Cloud. Set a weekly observation target. Right? That's that kind of pilot that we were talking about earlier. Start running that. Try out Alice Technologies. Check it out. See what you can do with them. Maybe see if you can run a test on your most constrained path. Check it out. A BI dashboard. And I think this is a simple one. Power BI is something pretty simple to stand up. Wouldn't take too much time, but, kind of get an ops pulse going. A simple, RFIs, submittals, change orders can get you started, a look ahead, get going for one project and make it the agenda for stand-ups so that you can kind of go through it. We'll call it Turner style, right? By Turner Construction. So again, you can read more about this. Go to Turner Construction and check out their blogs and their articles. IoT quick win, add sensors to 2 rooms where moistures or temps will possibly wreck finishes and kind of see how that's working, how that communicates, kind of get that going. Again, we need to follow the money here. A lot of investment's going to be going into AI, whether it's going to be new AI company startups, whether they're building out offices, whether they're just needing data centers technology, whether they're needing energy compliance or energy resources. Another one that's going to be a part of this is water for cooling these systems. That's another big area where we're going to need some smart folks to build facilities to help with that. So basically, this whole idea of being able to compute with AI is going to require a lot of infrastructure, a lot of building, and a single campus will be in the tens of billions. So contractors who can provide predictability with data to their clients, they're going to be the ones that get the first calls, right? They're going to be the ones. If you're digital ready, right, and you're ready to be able to deliver those receipts, deliver that predictability before you get started, you're going to be able to win those bids. Now, so like I said, it's time to get serious about your data. And I've been saying this for a while. Actually, I've been saying it probably over a year since I kind of started this podcast about how important your data is. And it doesn't stop being less important. It gets more important every day about your data, how accurate it is, and how well you're able to use it in order to be able to help your company move forward. Okay? So it's time to get serious about your data, get serious about upskilling your people, and get serious about your playbook, right? If you're a GC or specialty contractor and you're ready to run a maybe 90-day proof, safety risk, schedule optimization, and IoT conditions program, I can help you scope it out and measure it. If you're also looking to do even if you're just looking to do a AI readiness gap, right? I have a program where I do an AI readiness score. I can baseline your data, your foundations, your change maturity, and the training gaps. And then we can help you get to that 90-day sprint when we start talking about what we want to do for that part. But you can connect with me, Robert Zimmerman, on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to the ConTech Exec to hear more information. If you want that AI job site readiness score, please contact me. I'll help you baseline your data. And then you can also reach me at the ConTech-Exec.com website. It's got my phone number and those things in it if you want to talk more about some of the services that I provide. So, but please be sure to tune in next week. I'm going to be talking to my good friend Christian Berger of Berger Consulting Group. We're going to be talking about data governance and enterprise governance, all those types of things. All the things, kind of the baseline stuff we were talking about today, we're going to continue on next week with Christian, and it's going to be very, very informative. So I urge you, if you've watched this one, watch the next one that's coming out next week. But until then, thank you so much. I hope you will get serious today so that you're not left behind tomorrow. I'm Robert Zimmerman from the ConTech Exec. Thank you so much.